Hi, good morning, everybody. It's so lovely to see you all. It really is. I'm only just saying good morning, and then I'm going to hand over to Stephen Heppell, who's going to talk to you about our really exciting project. I'm so excited about this project. It's going to be so good. So that's my bit done. I should mute now.
Well, that's terrific, and I think Lisa, who's my partner in crime in all this, she's probably turned you all on to mute for a minute, and you need to be on speaker view rather than gallery view, which is up in the top right-hand corner, and then you should see, if you're lucky, you should see me in a minute anyway. Here we are, because I'm going to show you some things on the wall behind me. I'm in Essex too. I'm down in Brightlingsea, just down the road from you. And I'm Stephen Heppell. I actually live with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, so my grandchildren live with me. They're on a Zoom call to their class at the moment, funnily enough. And I'm a professor in Madrid, Buenos Dias, in Spain. So we're going to do a project together, and it's a pretty exciting project. This is where I'm talking to you from. So I'm in this shed with a slide, which is quite nice. And we're going to do a project looking at learning outside, outdoor learning. You've got the most fabulous school field, and there's a lot of reasons why we might want to be out of doors rather than indoors for our learning. And we might just look at a couple of them in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to show you some other people's schools and show you some of the things that others are doing that are quite good fun, really. So here's a nice one, since we're looking at the slide in my little office. This is a group of children in a school where they have a slide out of the classroom, and so when they go to play, they just jump out of the window and it goes whizzing down. 3 floors actually. It's a big slide, and the teachers watching this will think, "What's that like?" So here are the teachers all jumping out of the window as well, just to test it out. And here's a group of children in a school in Thailand where they've got a climbing frame, so they climb up to get their best books. So people are trying really hard to do lots of exercise, and we're going to look at how we do all that out of doors rather than indoors. But here's one more. This is in Japan, in Yokohama. This is the classroom. The children get to play in a net above the classroom. So everybody's trying really hard. What do you think of that? Does that look good? Put your hand up if you think that looks good. Oh yeah, me too. I think that looks good. So we're going to look at different things that we can do out of doors, and some of the things we can do might be to do with putting more numbers out there. Here, look, here's a school where every door in the school has a protractor on the floor, so when you open the door, you know what angle you've opened it by. So we might be putting a lot of numbers outside in your school. We might do that in this sort of way by putting lots of clocks, so we can just time running around the playground and climbing trees and doing all that. You do the Daily Mile, don't you? I think you lot. I wonder who's the fastest runner in your school from the children. Who do you reckon it is? Who's got a thought about that? I'm not sure I know either, but what we'll make sure is that your teachers have something like this. This is a little thing you run on a telephone, and anybody that runs past my telephone, it'll tell me how fast I'm running. So it'll be interesting to see who's the fastest runner. But it's also interesting, more to the point, to see whether we can just do regular lessons out of doors. This is the beach school that runs in Brightlingsea, and you can see the children here are collecting things from the water, and they're they're looking at insects and they're looking at marine science and biology and having quite a lot of fun doing all that. Or here's a group of children, and just find them. Where have they gone? Here they are. So here's a school where all the learning is out of doors. When they arrive in the morning, they register out of doors, they have their lessons out of doors, they do all their learning out of doors, and they only go indoors when it's really necessary. Like if it's snowing, maybe they go indoors at that point, not always. And there are some reasons for this, so I'm going to show you a bit of science now. This is what the inside of your brain looks like when we put it in a scanner. So we're looking down on people's heads and we're measuring how active their brains are. And the people over on this side, you can see, I think, their brains are a lot more active than the people on this side. And the reason is this lot have been moving before they do their learning, and this lot have been sitting before they do their learning. So keeping you moving around is really, really good for your brain. But there's something else as well, and let me show you. So we've been measuring learning spaces. So I'm sitting in a space, and you can see it's 18 degrees in here, which is quite a good temperature for learning. And I'm measuring the air in the room around me, and one of the things I'm measuring is the CO2, 1,694 parts per million. That's quite a lot of CO2. The trouble with CO2 is it makes you a bit snoozy, and as soon as it gets to about 1,000, your eyes go a bit dozy and you start struggling to concentrate. So what happens when you go out of doors, I'm just going to open the window here next door to my desk. So in a minute we'll measure what that fresh air has done to the CO2 in the room. And look, I'm going to show you a little graph, which is a bit hard work for the littlest ones, but it might be interesting for some of the teachers and parents too. So this is a classroom, and the children come in the morning, and they breathe, they breathe in oxygen, they breathe out CO2, and the CO2 in the room goes up and up and up and up. That's where they go out for break, and then it keeps on going up till lunchtime. And you can see the figure there is quite high. It's just on 4,500 parts per million. But the yellow line there, that yellow line, is the line above which your brain starts to go a bit dopey. So bringing everybody into the class, having them all breathing, slowly the oxygen disappears, the CO2 increases, and you become not as clever as you could be for that day. Now, one of the things we've done to make that better is put all our plants in the classroom. So that works pretty well. We bring in plants, and the plants, they do a clever thing actually. Plants turn that nasty old CO2 back into oxygen, so your brain's nice and sharp again. And but of course, if I go outside, I've got lovely, clean, pure air with not much CO2, and the CO2 outside, my number's already down to 601. So I don't know if you can remember how high it was. It's well over 1,000. All I've done is open the window and let the outdoor air in, and I've got I feel much smarter already, and that's the good clean air making a difference. So what we're interested in doing with you, to see all the ways that we can use your outdoor space to be good for learning. And I don't mean here just going out of doors, to do the climbing wall and do the swings or the climbing apparatus. I mean actually going out of doors to have proper lessons with your teachers, and to live, to be doing maths on the playground, and to be doing science, and to be doing are, what are all the things you can do with learning out of doors? And by the way, we do this in universities as well. Look at the crazy things they do with their outdoor learning in universities. It's all kind of interesting. So I'm going to be looking at, with you, some of the ways we can make the outdoors much better for learning, better for your brain, and for teachers and parents, of course, with COVID, 20 times less likely to be infected outdoors than indoors. So it's a much, much safer place for us. We're in a time of infection, and I think we can have a lot more infection going forward. Let me just show you a couple of other people learning out of doors, because it's not all good. But this is an interesting one. These are some children going to school, and they have to climb this great big ladder, climb all the way up the cliff to get to their school. Can you imagine doing that? Well, this lot have to go across the bridge, and the bridge is broken, so they have to really hang on to get there. Or I really like this lot who the only way they can get to school is on a rubber ring, and the rubber ring is on a piece of rope, so the rope swings one way and they get in, and then it swings the other way and they get out and they're on the way. And this lot, it's so hard to get to school that they sleep in the classroom all week, and only they go home on Friday and come back again on Monday, because it's so difficult. Sometimes they fall off the cliff and get quite badly hurt. So a lot of other places in the world are doing learning out of doors as well. Some of them do it really badly. Let me show you a really bad one. If I can find it, I hid it away because it makes me a bit sad when I look at it. But it's here somewhere. It's in France, and here they are. Look, does that look like fun? I don't think so. So that lot, when they do their learning, they have to sit in their little square, and they're not allowed out of their square, which just seems silly to me. I think we can do a lot better than that. For sure. Poor old France, they do some things very well, but not that. So we might also spend a little bit of time looking at how we can bring some of the outside in to the inside, if we can build walls of plants so that our outdoor life comes into the inside of the classroom as well. And I want to start with you thinking about your daily mile, because I know you do the daily mile, and this isn't you, this is another school we're working with, but I want you to think about ways we can make the daily mile more fun. I don't mean who's the winner or loser. I don't want to make it a race, because I think just doing the daily mile is pretty good, but maybe we should have the daily mile where you've got numbers and you have to run to all the even numbers and back to do a mile, or if you run to all the odd numbers and back, you do a mile. And if you do them both, you do 2 miles. Maybe we can put a bit of maths into that, into the daily mile, or maybe we can see who's the fastest going past that one point. The fastest usually, I'll whisper this for the boys. The fastest is usually a girl. Most of the schools we've measured this in, the fastest runner has almost always been a girl. So it'll be interesting to see who your fastest runner is out in the playground. That'll be, I wonder. Now, some of the mums and dads listening will be thinking, hang on a minute, Stephen, it's, now you've opened the window, it's 9. Well, hang on, let me just, oops, daisy. Now you've opened the window, it's only 9 degrees, surely that's a bit cold for learning. Well, it isn't. It turns out that your brain works better when it's cold than when it's hot. And I think what they say in the beach school over here in Bracklingsea is there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. So if you wear the wrong clothes, then chances are you're going to be cold. But if you wear the right clothes, you'll still be able to learn. So you'll have to have a chat about whether you wear woolly hats, or whether there's a school uniform woolly hat, or whether you wear a thermal layer underneath them. But not many children get ill from being a bit too cold. A lot of them get to be a bit dozy from being too warm. So this is all about how clever can we make you, really, using your outdoor space. And I reckon we're going to see a lot of change. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of money on this. We could, but I don't think it's necessary. And we want other schools to copy what you do. So a lot of schools around the world are going to be watching you and seeing what you do. And they've all got different sorts of schools, of course. They've got all sorts of interesting things happening in their schools. This is a school in, oh no, that's not the one. There's a school in Barcelona here somewhere where the children have done all sorts of things. So they'll be watching you. Here's a school in Spain, and they're all chatting online the way we're chatting online too. So we'll make a point of joining you up with some of the other children. Here's a group of head teachers I'm working with, and you can see here's me here. Here's the head teachers. We're doing all our learning out of doors as well. That's a pretty nice beach actually. So it'll be fun to have a bit of a look around other people's places and see just what they're doing as well. Whether that's in Africa, or whether that's in America, or whether that's in well, anywhere really. We'll see what they're doing, and some of them have got great ideas. You know, turning the clocks in the school into little puzzles, so everywhere you go out the doors, there are no numbers, just little puzzles. Anyway, that's it really. That's what we're going to be doing, and I can't wait to hear some of your ideas about how to make the place a bit more exciting for your brain. And I want you to start looking right away. Those of you who are in school, you can wander around and have a bit of a look around the break and think, I wonder if we painted some stripes on the playground and made it kind of a bit more of a challenge. But what does a classroom look like when you're out of doors? You know, if you're actually having a proper formal lesson, what does that classroom look like? I think, just bear with me a moment. I think I might have even got one here to look at. I think possibly, oh, possibly not. Oh no, I haven't. Okay, but so that's the challenge, really. How can we make it more exciting? And I'd like to hear from some of you some questions about all this, really, from mums and granddads and whoever else is online, and from you lot. So I'm going to stop. But the idea is very simple. Take the outside of your school, make it more exciting for learning, make it more exciting for you too. And you are a very lucky generation. You're very, very special. Most children have gone to school and nothing's changed for their whole lifetime. They've come in, done the same thing, gone home, done, gone, till they leave school. You lot have got this lovely COVID adventure right in the middle, and nothing is going to be the same. So you are the special generation. You're the golden generation. You're the most special kids we've ever had this side of the Second World War, I think. So I'm really looking forward to see what you've got to say. And let's take a moment now. I'm going to go back to the gallery view for me, and you need to go back to the gallery view for everybody. And then let's hear if anybody got some questions about all this. There's a lot to take in. Oh, that's better. I can see you. Hello, you lot. Excellent. Just hold your hand up if you think that's going to be a good idea and a good adventure. Smashing. Well, you're all up for it, and I'm going to learn lots from you, and we're going to learn lots from each other, and the world is going to learn from you. We're building a school in Peru at the moment, down in Lima, where Paddington Bear comes from. So they'll be interested in what you do. And we're building schools in Australia where they have a lot of snakes in their schools. So the first thing I said to them, I said, let's do learning out of doors. They said, what about the snakes? Well, we don't have snakes in Essex. So you're pretty lucky, really. So who'd like to ask anything? Teachers, mums, granddads, students, ask me anything you like. And put your hand up like that, and Lise will spot you, and I'll shout out your name, and we'll turn your microphone on. So who wants to ask anything?
I'd like to, well, it's not a question as such, but I'd like to say I think it's absolutely phenomenally unbelievable. Absolutely wonderful. So I have taught on a tiny Scottish island and done lessons on the beach. So I know from a teacher's point of view, it's absolutely incredible. One of the things I've always been interested in as well is there's a school in Ipswich that does something called Mantle of the Expert, which gets children in the schools to actually be the expert and take on a project. And I think things like this really lend themselves to taking that in as well. For example, I think I think every country should have chickens. I think the kids should be out there collecting the eggs. I think they should be selling them, working out profit and loss and all of that. So I just think, yay! I'm like utterly really excited by this. I think there's so much
for
that
that.
can be
Terrific. That's terrific. And we've learned a lot, actually. We've got about 5 million hours of data with these little boxes. And one of the things we've learned, there's a thing called TVOCs, which are the nasty smells you get when you paint fresh paint, or when you glue carpet tiles down. There's sort of a bit of a smelly smell, you know. And we found those numbers in schools were going just so high. We couldn't believe how high they were going. And it turned out it was because everybody's deep cleaning their classrooms because of COVID. And
I can imagine.
Very aggressive.
I know for us, the more bleach we use, the more we actually come down with tummy bugs and stuff in our house. So it's not good.
It also improves your brain a lot.
I'll also say one thing. I think a lot of parents are probably all thinking, and during lockdown, I think there's huge anxiety amongst all of us parents that we need to be doing the Gavin Williamson thing of proving to everybody we're all doing lots of education at home and we're doing right by our children. And I think, how does this fit in with, I mean, to me, I'm completely, luckily, I'm not even a convert. I believe this is what education should be. What tax are you going to get from government for not sitting in classrooms?
Well, we're very lucky, really, because I'm very old, you know. So I've been a professor since the 1980s, and we've had some really successful projects, you know, and because of that, they really do listen. In fact, funnily enough, the Ofsted published a couple of days ago some guidelines on online learning, and a lot of the words there they've taken from us, so they do listen to us. But the interesting thing here is, although there's some well-being advantages here, you know, just the fresh air, but this is also brain advantages. Your kids will be smarter as a result of this. I can promise you. You know, we've seen, just by changing examination rooms, we've seen children's results go up 3, 4, 5%. I mean, really big changes. So, you know, all the kids watching this are all going to be smarter in a year's time, which is quite a good feeling. They all, to be honest,
will the parents be smarter as well?
Yeah, parents too. Let me. I don't know if you can see the chat window.
I'll be back on mute, but thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be seeing a lot of each other because you know, you're all going to be part of this too. So let me just say, if you go to heppell.net, Heppell, Heppell.net, which is my website. You know, 25 million people went there last year, so it's a popular website. Heppell.net/home. Then, if you're doing home learning, there's a whole lot of tips about making your home learning space better. Changing the light bulbs makes a big difference. You'd be surprised, you know. So there's a lot of good information about all that. Let's have another question then from somebody. And thanks for that. That's kind. I see Greg Keeley has just popped in, who's from Essex. We're doing this with Essex Local Authority, and Greg will tell you that we did a project in Fingringhoe School, which is just the other side of Colchester from where you are. But we took one classroom and made the classroom the best it could possibly be. And I remember the teacher who'd been teaching the children the year before said, if the names weren't the same on the register, she wouldn't believe they were the same children. The impact on children loving their learning is just colossal, really. So it's really good. But have any of the children got any questions to ask? Anything you'd like to ask about. Oh yeah, there's Park and Unn. Please, can you unlock them?
Where are they? Goodness. Oh, yes, they're unlocked.
Thank you. We're a shielding family and we've been homeschooling since March, and obviously Parker is missing being with his friends. But have you got any top tips for us what we can do for more outside learning whilst we're at home? Because we might be at home for a little bit longer than most people.
Yeah, for sure. And what I'll do, I'll send to the school. We've got a whole mass of outdoor things you can do, from building volcanoes to melting pewter and all sorts of stuff. And there's about 50 of them. And my daughter wrote them, well, she's part of an arts council project. So I'll send you that link and you'll find lots of things on there. I mean, I don't know if you're in a flat or whether you've got a garden or a balcony. What space have you got around?
We're very fortunate. We've got quite a big garden. Tell them about what you've got in your garden, Parker.
A zip line and
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, one of the fun things to do is to see what you have got in the garden, really, because and I don't know if you've seen those little tiny. So it's Alexa telling off my granddaughters. With those little tiny digital microscopes, only about £30 on Amazon, are really good because you just carry them around and take photographs, and we'll certainly be using some of those around the school premises as well. So I'll be interested to see. But Parker, I'll send you that list of things. It'll be good to hear what works for you and what feedback you've got. Yeah, cool.
Stephen, Emily Nightingale had her hand up a little while ago. I don't know if
Yeah,
got a question.
Emily Nightingale and Julie Ingram have questions as well. Or they're possibly the same person, actually. I can see Emily.
Good morning. Thank you very much. That's fascinating. What can we do to help? What would be the first thing that we can do? What can we do to help?
Yeah, that's all right. She can chat away. I want to hear from her. That's entirely fine. How old is she?
She's 3. Marcus is 9, and Elliot is absent.
Excellent.
Well, I live with a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, so interruptions are entirely inappropriate. Well, there are lots of things you can do. I think our first, just little focus for everybody, and I was going to say this again, but I'll say it now, is we're really looking for good ideas for the Daily Mile. I really like the Daily Mile. I like that moving around, and I know some of you are doing it around little gardens and 24 laps, and I know some schools are trying to add up their miles and see how long it takes them to get to the North Pole, and other places are, doing little coloured wristbands to say, I've done 5 miles, I've done 50 miles, I've done 100 miles, but how we can make the Daily Mile a bit more learning oriented. One of the nice things about all this is wherever your eyes go, we want them to be led back to learning. So even when you're out of doors, we really want to kind of seduce you back to learning, really. So I'll give you a good example of, I think most of the children, if I asked them how tall the school was, wouldn't be able to tell me the tallest part of the school in meters. That's quite hard, although you've got church next door, and the church steeple, I think it's probably 7 meters, something like that. But if we mark up the outside of the school with meters, then we'll know what's the tallest tree, what's the tallest building, how far is it from here to here, so they can start thinking about a number when they're just playing outside. And then we've also been looking at things like this. This is what they call a Z chair, which is look, there it is, and you just sit on it, and then you've immediately got a desk in front of you. So you could be sitting on the grass, you keep your bottoms dry, or you could be sitting on a log, or you can be sitting on a bench, sit on anything. So everybody has a hard, because the teachers will know you need a hard surface sometimes to draw and to write, So it'd be good to hear from the parents some of the things that you've got at home that work really well out of doors. So that would be a really helpful thing. But good ideas for the Daily Mile would be smashing. I don't want to turn the Daily Mile into a race, but ways to make it, more about learning. Really, you could have poetry backwards around the Daily Mile, so you read lines as you go around. And there's lots of possibilities. A lot of our schools have numbers on the staircases, by the way, so you learn your tables as you go up and down the stairs.
Stephen. Stephen, Liz Andrews is asking, will this happen during lockdown?
Yes, I mean, we talked about, so just, well, we very get on with it, people, as Greg will tell you. So we had a meeting. Julie, when did we talk about this properly?
Monday.
Monday we talked about it. And I said, I want to talk to everybody if I can. She said, when? And Lee said, well, how about Wednesday? So here we are. So no, it's happening right now. We might be in lockdown for ages yet, who knows? But you all need to get out of doors, and outdoor learning and indoor learning. There's things we found, like if you point a projector at a window and turn it on, the window looks like a great big screen. So if you're out of doors, you look at the window, and it just looks like a great big outdoor television screen. So even if you've got old Joe Wicks trying to persuade you to jump up and down, I can't keep up with him. But you could be doing that out of doors. Lots of things you can do out of doors, and we need to think about footwear, because maybe parents that we're going to need class sets of wellies, and I like Wellingtons because they're really easy to put on. Teachers, particularly reception teachers, will tell you they spend half their life putting shoes back on if they take them off. But wellies are great, you just jump into them. So wellies that are too big are just the perfect thing, really. So, there's lots and lots to talk about here. And particularly to think about other schools and other countries and see what they're doing and see what's going on. There's certainly schools out there that haven't got any buildings anyway. They're doing all their learning just in a field. There's, for some of them are having a pretty unfortunate time, really. Let's have see if we've got a picture here somewhere of somebody's outdoor space. Bear with me a moment. Here, by the way, that's just while I look, that's the fingering aid class, and you can see how bright the lights are and how white the walls are, and some of that stuff on Heppell.net home tells you how to make your own space better. But look, some children, this is where they live. The schools have all been bombed and they've all gone, and there's nothing left for them. And they're all still learning, still having a great time out of doors, And they're not having. But indoors, we have to worry about things like putting lids on the toilets, because when you flush the toilet, it's quite dangerous, actually. So this is in Spain. We have everybody with masks on, and we still need masks sometimes. But out of doors, it's so much better, so much safer air. You'll enjoy it a lot more. But you might want to think about vests, mums and dads, because I've left the window open here, and we're down to. Oh, hang on, we're down to 6 degrees now. But I'm not shivering, and I've only got a vest and t-shirt on, so that's all. So you might want to think about what's good clothing. That's Julie, do you have a tough uniform, Julie? What's your uniform? Oh, hang on.
Julie needs to. And Stephen, just before Julie answers, I'm going to be really rude. You've got one more question from Ian Farquharson, and I can't. That's what they're logged in as, but I can see that it's a very, very pretty young girl. She's 3 down on my rows, but I can't see what her name is. But if you want to unmute Ian Farquharson,
yeah, and then I'm going to run through some of the questions in the chat window in a minute as well. So
they are the questions in the chat window that I'm giving you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Right.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Isla. My question is, how many times should you get outside during the school day, and what should you do?
Well, it's a really good question, Isla, but I think you kind of might reverse it and think, what do I need to go indoors for? And you might need to go indoors because it's just got too cold, your hands are cold, or you might need to go indoors because that's where the toilet is, or you might need to go indoors because some of the if you've got big interactive screens, they don't work very well in the rain out of doors, you know. But you know, if you in your head you think, I'm going to do a lot of learning out of doors, and sometimes I'm going to have to go indoors, but not so much. Then you know, think of it the other way. What are the times when you have to be indoors, and can you do anything about that? You know, is there any way of helping that? I know a lot of some of your classrooms have got outside doors on them anyway, so you can float between indoor and outdoor more easily. Teachers will be thinking, how do I get the attention of all my class when they've all gone sort of spreading off all over the place? So you have to think about your protocols. You know, you might have you might give all your teachers a harmonica. You know, you might just get them to just to make a little musical noise, and he goes, "Oh, that's my teacher. She's the one with the harmonica." You know, or that's my teacher. She's the one with the drum kit. You know, so you've got to think about how this works for you and your teachers as well. In one of my schools, they don't have a bell. The teachers all carry a penny whistle, and whenever they need to go anywhere, the teachers take out the penny whistle and blow it, and all the children follow the whistle like the Pied Piper. You know. So there's lots of things for you to think about, but being out the most you can is a really good thing. And obviously, if it's a thunderstorm and there's lightning, you know, then you've got to think about the practicalities of that. But we live in Essex. We're one of the driest places in England. We're very lucky. Brightlingsea is drier than Beirut, so we don't have to worry too much about bad weather. There's a couple of other good questions in the window, one of which I think we've had really, which is what can we do to get started? And so what happens from here really is a good question. You know, I think I'm going to get Julie to get everybody thinking hard about that Daily Mile, and then I'm going to come over to the school when nobody's there really, because I'm not quite isolated here, but I've got an asthma child and an elderly person with pneumonia, so I'm being pretty cautious, and I need to come and have a look around the place. I've driven past it, and I've parked outside. Before COVID, I've parked outside and watched you all come in and out because I wanted to know what the school was like. So I've kind of met you from a parked car like a detective, you know. But I need to come and have a proper look around. And I'm also going to ask some of the children who are in school to do a bit of a walk around, and you know, with an iPad, and just video the school, because other children who are going to be watching this will want to know, what's your place like then, you know, have you got snakes? And so we've got a list of things to be getting on with, and we're also trying to get together all the people who work with Essex schools to provide things. With when we were working in the fingering hoe, it was the people who do lighting, and the people who do paint, and the people who do plants and so on. So we need to get our army of Essex helpers together, and that for sure is going to include some parents too. So there's lots to be getting on with, but you know, we're getting on with it now. This isn't, let me tell you about it, and in 2 years' time we'll get started. This is, let's get on with it, research. I don't want to finish it and find all the children have left and gone on, you know. You guys are going to have the fun from all this. I absolutely promise you. Any other questions? I'm conscious we've been talking for ages, which if I was small would be a very long time. So I think, in fact, it feels a very long time anyway. So I think we're going to stop, and you're going to hear more about all this. Children, we need a name for this project. So you might want to think about that. If we just call it the Outdoor Project, that sounds pretty flipping boring. I'm relying on you to think of a good name for it, and then we'll have a vote on the name and see what we're going to call it. And that'll be good fun as well. So off you go, have a think about your garden, go out there and get back on your zip wire and have a look around the school, think about that tour, think about the Daily Mile, think about a good name, and I'll send the school more data about making your brains work, and I might try and persuade you, Julie, to buy one of these boxes, because contrasting the indoor with the outdoor is really interesting. They're not very, it's been about 400 quid or something. So That's only not that you've got any spare money at this point. we'll lend you one until you can afford it or something. Okay, thanks. Listen, thanks, students. Thank you for being so patient. Utterly fab. Thanks, mums and granddads and the odd pet I see walking around. Thank you for being patient. Thank Greg for bringing your seats in on this. And see you all very soon. And thank Lisa for making it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
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 Stuff on the website.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.